Now I got to get my volume right, guys. We had a lot of technical problems at the beginning of the stream. That's why it's a little late. Let me get my other window up and running here so I can see the chat. And let me see what I'm doing here. We had a ton of technical problems. We are down to one camera tonight, guys. And if the audio sounds a little funny, I apologize. I spent probably 30 minutes just trying to get my other camera actually working. Then I never could get it working. The computer kept giving that doot 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 noise, you know, when you plug in a USB device. So I kind of figured there was a bad cable. And then before I knew it, my main camera went out. So I had to change cables on that camera. But I've yet to be able to get this camera here working. And the peculiar thing of it is I had it working on Wednesday night when we did the live stream. OBS sees it, but I'm just getting the generic Mevo picture of the camera. I'm not getting an actual feed, but the computer says that it's getting the feed. So I really don't understand what's going on with it. My attention tonight was I was going to go over mic settings on the amplifier. Tonight, I did something that I normally do not do. I have the microphone basically the way they set them up in a studio. I have it directly on the cone. I'm about a ½ inch off the side piece of the cone, where the cone goes like this before it goes into the, well, a regular speaker, that'd be the foam membrane. But on an instrumental speaker, it's a piece of the paper that goes like this that's coated in rubber. So I'm about an inch down from that on the inside of the cone, and I'm about 1 inch away from the actual grill of the speaker cloth. So I don't know if it sounds any better tonight. Now, when I was just playing, I did actually have this microphone on just a little bit, and I had set two settings on my DBX 286S. I noticed when I turned this one on, I was getting intermittent cuts due to the limiter. So I have two sets of channels now. I've got a marked piece of tape on it, and I was able to turn that back to just give a little bit of the room ambience with this microphone, and then of course the microphone on the cabinet. So I don't know if it sounded any better or not. I really thought I was getting a little better, and then with tonight, with the cameras not working, I was getting pretty frustrated. That's why we're about 30 minutes late. Yeah, I wanted to restart the computer, but I had. This is Kurt Inskell's comment. Linnell read it out to me from the kitchen. I was going to, but I had already set up all the information in the YouTube studio, so I knew if I restarted the computer, I had to go back in and upload the thumbnail, put in all the keywords, put in the new title, create a new stream key, then I'd have to put the stream key back into OBS. That would have taken at least 15 minutes to do, and then there was no guarantee that the camera would come to life anyway. So I figured, tonight's just kind of our hangout stream anyway, so we'll just get together, hang out, see what everyone's been doing since Wednesday night. I did the review on this little guy Wednesday night, and so we only had one night off, so hopefully a lot transpired in that one night and one day, and we have something to talk about. If not, it's going to be a real boring show. Hey, I see Daniel's joined the group. And for everyone that's in here, I don't remember even which buttons do what, but I think it's 4 and 5. So if those aren't the correct buttons, I apologize. So look at who's come in. We've got Jerry. Of course, we got Linnell. Juke 5000. We have Devastator. Kurt Inscale. We have Jackie. Nicholas. And now Daniel. So we've got a pretty good group showing up here tonight. So what did you all think of the new sound? I was trying to. Now I'll try it without this mic on. I don't know if there'll be that much difference, because I actually have to change the slider and then change the 286. But this is, I don't have my headphones on either, so I'm actually going to be hearing the room. But again, I got the mic about 1 inch away from the grill cloth. That's what we call a mess up. Oh, actually, I didn't even turn on that microphone. All that was done with the, see, this is why we do Friday night. Actually, everything you just heard was this microphone. So let me flip it, and you guys can hear the difference what the room picks up versus what the actual cabinet is. That was my mistake. So I'm going to turn this one off and turn the cabinet mic on. Everybody wants to clap.
Says now it sounds fuller, and Jerry says, is he running into a mixer then into an interface?
Basically, I'm trying to be able to, because I do this in my living room, guys, so it makes it difficult for me to set up and tear down and set up and tear down. I am working on a room downstairs that I can stay set up, but what I'm basically doing, I have my guitar plugged directly into my rack, and everyone knows my rack system. I used it. It's shown in many videos. This, I have an SM57 Beta directly in front of the cabinet. It's about a ½ inch off the side of the cone and about an inch away from the grill cloth. That microphone runs directly into my Yamaha AG08, which is a computer interface. Okay, and it runs into the computer. This microphone does the exact same thing. It runs into channel 1, okay, of the AG08 into OBS. So it's a pretty simple setup. That's basically all I'm doing. I have a ton of rack stuff over here. I could probably get a lot fancier, and I'm sure I could get a lot better than I'm getting now. It comes down to the amount of time. Like I said, it's my living room, so it's hard for me to leave a bunch of cables laying around. But in the future, maybe in the next year, I can get the room downstairs done and we can actually have a real workshop. If you've watched my tutorial videos on cleaning frets and dressing frets, that's the room I'm working on. You'll notice it's in frame. Pretty much everything's done. All the electric's done. I just need to hang sheetrock and finish doing the trim work, and that room will be finished. The room to the left, when you come down the steps, that's the room to the right. The room to the left is almost done as well. So my goal was the room on the left be for the amplifiers and the actual review stuff, and the room that you see me working on the guitars and the framing, I was going to hang sheetrock in there, and that would actually be like the tech room. But that's going to be a while. I've been working on it for 5 years, and it's hard, guys. When you get home from work, the last thing you want to do is hang sheetrock and work on your house and do major renovations. It's hard enough for us to work all week, come home, cut the grass, and do all the responsibilities of being a homeowner. So, and then we have our guitars. You don't want to work 24/7. We want to have time to be able to pick up what we love doing. So I'm in no rush to do it. I would rather come home and spend a little time with a significant other, have dinner, talk about the day, play the guitar a little bit, take my bath, go to bed, get up, repeat. If I can do that, I'm a happy camper. You really can't ask for too much more in life than that. You have food on the table, you have a job, you've got a hobby that you love, and you have a woman that you love. I mean, what else really is there to life? Um,
Devastator said your first priority after work should always be pamper mama.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, guys. I don't know how many times I have to say it. I know that I have a fantastic, fantastic woman. And you look behind, I'm not saying that I'm successful. I think I'm successful in my professional career outside of music. Okay, I am successful at doing that. I'm considered one of the best in my area. But when it comes to music and life, you got to separate your work and how people see you at work and how you act at work. You, with my job, I have to be a certain way, if that makes sense. I don't want to say that I'm fake, but sometimes I have to qualify what I say, and I have to watch the words that I say, because you're around a client that might be spending $1 million to $15 million on a project, and the last thing you want to do is come across or say something that may be, not taken well. In music, when we come home from work, that's our disconnect. That's the wife, that's the kids, that's music, that's hanging out with friends, having a cookout. Um, all those things considered, I know that life for me really couldn't get too much better than it is right now. I couldn't ask for, I really couldn't ask for a better life. I really couldn't, and hopefully you guys see life that way too. We have to look at it that we have a great hobby, something that's artistic. Okay, not everyone can play guitar, guys. Not everyone's good at music. It takes an artistic person, someone that's creative. I call especially guitar players. I could be wrong. I look at guitar players as usually in their other life, when they're not playing music, they're usually what I call out of the box thinkers. They're creative. They think of other ways of doing something that the masses really don't think of. And I think that's creativity. I think we all have that. And that creativity overflows in our playing. Whether you're playing blues, death metal, rock, country, I've been working on my country stuff. I'm not going to play any country for you because I really suck at country. But I have really been trying to get that twang pick thing down that they do. People will talk, oh, it's country. Try it. Try to play country leads with that pick twang cadence that they have. Maybe it's so difficult for me because I've gotten used to playing rock and roll and the cadence is really funny, but it's difficult music. Yeah, it's really difficult music. I have the utmost respect for those guys.
Jerry
You know,
said chicken picking.
yeah, chicken picking. There you go. I mean, I would love to be able to chicken pick. It sounds more like chicken. If I tried it, chicken poo. We'll say poo instead of the S word. That's what it would sound like if I tried that on this guitar. I even have a good chicken picking guitar that I could play up there. A person, if you give someone a Fender Telecaster, okay, and a Fender twin reverb amp, and they know how to chicken pick, I could sit there for hours and listen to that. One, the Telecaster has that sound, and when you put it in front of like a Pro Reverb or a Twin Reverb or an older Princeton, I'm sorry, it doesn't get much better than that. It just doesn't get much better than that. That's a sound. Um, that's a sound that I like. Even though I know I'm 80s, my tone is 80s. I hear different tones, guys. I do. I hear the jazz tones, and I'm like, wow, how are they getting that sound? You know, they have basically the same equipment that we have. their ear is tuned a certain way, and they have set their amp up, and every little thing that they do goes towards what they feel, and it's just a sound that I like. It's probably just because maybe it's a sound that I don't know how to get, and when I hear it, I'm like, how do they do that? You know, how do they get that sound? And I'm sure they probably listen to my 80s hair tones. Like, how's he getting that tone? How's he doing that? So I'm sure there's respect on either side, if that makes sense. I've noticed that too as I get older, that I have more respect for other kinds of music. When I was in my 20s playing, I always laughed. I was like, oh, you know, country music. If I was going to play country, I would have stopped learning how to play guitar 2 years in. And that was just me being young, dumb, and naive. Now being, you know, I consider myself a halfway decent guitar player. Now I listen to, you know, jazz, blues, country, some of the stuff, and I'm like, wow, these artists are amazing. You know, it's like, I don't know how many people watch football. It's like when a bunch of guys get together and they're watching the Super Bowl, and they're like, oh, that dude sucks. Look, he can't even hold the ball. You know, that dude may be the worst freaking player on that team, but he's still 5,000 times better than anyone we know. He just looks bad because the other guys around him are just stupid good. But he is still really talented. You put him against any semi-pro or high school player or college player, that's not going to be a competition. He's still an awesome athlete. That's why he's there. And I think we can say that with professional musicians too. When you see a professional musician out backing a band, you're like, well, that guy's not good. Well, maybe he's just playing what he was told to play. That guy could be phenomenal. He probably is phenomenal, but he's getting paid to do X, and that's what he's there to do. And a lot of these guys, you see them while they were on tour with this artist or this artist, and then they have a solo career, and it's like, well, I didn't even know he played that kind of music, because they can play so many different genres, so many different styles, and that's what makes, in my opinion, just a phenomenal musician. Me, I don't have that ability. I can play some maybe basic rhythm and blues, some basic jazz stuff, some very basic country, and some 80s stuff. I struggle even with the new modern stuff. The new way of playing this, I'll call it Polyphia style of playing. One, I don't even see how they string the instrument and get around the fretboard as fast as they do. But to play notes that quickly and that precisely, and the cadence that they're playing, it just blows my mind. How those are, and it's not just Polyphia. In the last 4 or 5 years, there have been just a tremendous amount of players coming out with this new style. I'm not saying it's something that I could listen to day in and day out, but to listen to an hour of it and understand the difficulty behind it, it's amazing. It blows my mind how they're able to change keys, and they change the cadence, they change the, I mean, it's like a completely different song, and they have bridged these two sections together with a complicated bridge, changing keys, changing the quarter notes per minute. It's on a completely different level. And you could say that with jazz too. If you listen to jazz, those guys go so far out. You know, they're going so far to the edge of the key, and then they bring it back. And it's like, oh my gosh. But they've figured out how to bridge certain notes together. They even play notes that are out of key. And I'll do that too sometimes. You guys will hear me. I'll stray off a key. Sometimes it works, okay, as a passing tone. Sometimes it doesn't work. But what I've seen with jazz is they'll land on a note that's technically not in key, but they've bridged up to that. And they land on that note. And they make it sound right. Every time I try to do that, it's like, oh, that dude just played a bad note. You know, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, how did I get away playing that? I don't know how we got on the topic. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but That was just my little rant, for tonight. Being a musician and wanting to chat, I want to be a better guitar player. That's what we want to. And the problem with YouTube guys is if I play, let's say I start playing a lot of songs that people know, YouTube just pounds the what out of you. And I have been fortunate, knock on wood, YouTube has not given me any copy strikes, and I have had no removal requests. But I try not to play other people's music. I try to play things that might be influenced by a song, but I change it enough to where YouTube doesn't leave me alone.
Jerry says he struggles a lot with time signatures other than basic 4/4. It takes work.
Yeah, 3/4 is a really what most people consider 3/4 time. Think of carnival music. Dun 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 dun. That's the most simplistic version of 3/4 time. I'm not saying that I can remember the tune. It was. There was a song that I knew that was 7/8, 3/4, and 4/4. See, I'm wanting to change that to 4/4. It's messing. It was something very similar to that. I don't remember it. 7/8 is a really cool time signature, and it's easy to fudge out 7/8, and most people don't really pay attention to it. So basically, view it as quarter notes, and just drop a quarter and then come back in. That's the easiest way. If you break it into eighths and sixteenths, of course you can add a little subtlety to it, especially if you start hitting on the 16th or the eighth like a drummer, bump 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 bump. If you come in on the eighth, then you can have an eighth and a quarter or 3/8 break, and then come back to your first. View it like that. I would have to get a metrodome out. That might be. That's not 5/8. Yeah, it's got to be 7/8. It's been a long time, guys, since I played stuff like that. Like I said, I took a very long hiatus from music, and I can't stress this enough. Sometimes life can get in our way, and we don't come home and we don't unwind. We don't do the things. We get life. Life sometimes will just get us, And we're like, we come home, we're depressed, and we just want to go to bed. We have to get past that. Take it from someone that played bars, that drank way too much, did way too many drugs. You can get into a depressional state by drinking, doing drugs, and working and not doing what you should. I shouldn't say what you shouldn't do or what you should do. It's your life. But you need to find happiness in the things that you enjoy and the people that's around you. If you have people that's bringing you down in life, you need to separate yourself from them, because all they're going to do is cause you pain. If they're, I'm not saying you abandon your friends when they get in bad shape. I'm saying someone that just constantly, after 15 years, they just have a bad attitude and they're always getting in trouble. The best thing to do is stay friends with them. Just step away. You know, don't let that influence your life, because I've always said it, we are a product of our environment. If you're around bad, we become bad. If you're around good people, you'll become a good person. You know, that's why I look at churchgoers. I hope and I have faith that these churchgoers, when they leave the church on Sunday or Saturday, I'm an Adventist, so I go to church on Saturday. I hope that they just don't, they're just not there on good behavior and get dressed up and then don't take those morals home and teach their kids and practice that at work. I know people do. I'm not saying, you know, there's just as many hypocrites that go to church as atheists that are hypocrites. It's how we want to come across to others, if that makes sense. Now this sounds like a psych show, guys. We really need to get back on music.
Jerry said I'm working on theory, ear training, and reading music.
Reading music on guitar is difficult, Jerry. I played in stage band in high school, and the teacher brought in, real sheet music. And they put it down in front of me. I'm looking at it going, you got that in tab? And the teacher's like, tab? Well, I said, tablature. You don't have the... He goes, that's sheet music. Read the sheet music, and that's the song we want to learn. I'm like, I don't know how to read sheet music. And I struggled with sheet music. Playing in stage band, I would go home and try to find that song somewhere. Okay, I would go to the music store. Back then, there was no internet. So I would go to G&M. G&M had a big section of books. So I would go in and try to find a book with that song with tablature on it, because it's not like we were playing, the 80s, top 40 songs in stage band. We were playing a lot of 50s and 60s, like upbeat jazz, blues type stuff in jazz band. And it was old enough to where you could go, and sometimes I could find it, sometimes I couldn't. And if I couldn't find it, there was another guitar player, and we would just kind of work our way through it. We would work with the sax player and a couple other people, and we would sit down and kind of do a workaround. And I don't know I'm sure the teacher knew that we were doing a workaround, but they never called us out on it. Now, that was fun. Yeah, well, everyone needs a little therapy, man. So I don't know what anybody else thinks of that. It's just me ranting on a Friday night, guys. Like I said, I was having problems with the camera, and I actually took off about an hour and a half early from work this week because I had put in some extra hours through the week and worked a little extra. So I left work early. I was just tired. So I came home, I took a power nap, had dinner, and then I kind of waited to the last minute. I had to do the thumbnail and do all this stuff. So I got the thumbnail done. I fired up OBS because this is the first time I've had a problem with the camera connecting. Since I got it working. And it was like, oh, look at this. And I can show you the screen. Now watch, it'll work this time. Guitar amp cam. I am going to switch to what that camera actually shows. There you go, guys. That's what I see. And if I come over here, if I go to properties, it will not work. That's all I get. I get that screen. And I don't know why, because OBS sees it. If I do, let me see. We're going to do display capture here, and then you guys can actually see OBS. So here's OBS. Okay. Well, I can't, since I'm in display capture, if you see where my mouse is moving, right here is a guitar amp cam. So if I click on that, now right here is guitar amp cam. Okay. I go to properties, and we can see Mevo wireless camera. All right. Now the one above it, this Mevo 2B 3K5, that's the main camera. This OBS, that's just a generic OBS screen. Okay. That's all that is. You see it right here in this window. But if I go to the wireless, which that camera is, that's the screen I get. I get this strange, I don't know what that is. So it is what it is. Now I go back over here, I'm going to hit Mevo Cam, and when I push this button up, it will switch back to the main camera. So that was kind of frustrating to come in and see that wasn't working. Now since I did all that, I lost the chat. There it goes. Jupe said he played violin. When I played violin, I had to learn to read music. I assume, Jupe, that you played violin in high school? The high school band? I tried for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years to take the test because I wanted to play saxophone. I wanted to play saxophone bad. And you had to, I guess, pass this test showing that you could do X as far as reading music and this or that. And I never did pass it. They said that I could play a lesser, I qualified according to my score to play something else. And I'm like, I'm not playing the flute. I'm not playing the trombone. Or I said, I want to play saxophone. And they're like, no, we've got other kids that have tested better, and we only need 8 total kids. So I never got to play saxophone. But in 10th grade was the first year that you could do stage band. So I had been playing guitar for a couple years. I started playing, I don't know, when I was like 13. So I probably had 4 years under my belt, or at least 2 or 3 years. And I was able to play guitar. Well, and Jerry, I got to go back in the chat here. Pentagore, I got balanced music class in elementary school for playing by ear. Sheet music was like math to me. It took the joy out of it. Yeah, that's pretty much why they didn't let me play saxophone, because of the sheet music. You had to be able to proficiently read it, or at least read it to a certain point to where they thought they could teach you and you could perform doing the saxophone. Plus, from what I understood, the saxophone was one of the harder instruments, air instruments, to learn to play. So I get that I was trying to jump from knowing nothing right to playing sax. And he was like, well, why don't you play this for a year or maybe 2, then retest and we'll see how you do on the sax. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I would rather, because our school, like stage band, that didn't happen during school hours. Back then we only had 6 periods. Okay, I know now I think it's a 7 period. Well, at least in this area they have 7 periods. So each class was an hour long. It wasn't 45 minutes long like they have now. So stage band was not part of the standard curricula at the school. If you were in stage band, you had to stay after school. And they had 1 hour after school each day for stage band. So that was technically 7th period. And to my knowledge, that was the only class that did that you had to stay after to take was stage band. They would not allow it during the day for whatever reason. I guess it wasn't accredited or something through the state. I don't know if you all know anything about that or not, but the state you were not allowed to do stage band during the day. It had to be after school. And Devastator says, yeah, I hated band in 7th grade. They tried to make us learn music on those plastic flutes. It was terrible. I don't remember the plastic flutes. They called it a what?
A recorder.
Linnell says they called it a recorder.
When I went to school.
When she went to school. I don't remember the plastic flutes. I mean, I was saving up the UPC stamps on cereal boxes to get the little kazoo thing. I guess that's about the same thing. I don't know. S&H green stamps. So you gotta give me a little plastic kazoo. I wonder if a kazoo is like a harmonica. Do you get a kazoo in G and a kazoo in E, and you need a kazoo in C? I'm just curious if they make different pitch kazoos. Devastator says they were garbage.
They were.
She agrees with you. She says they were garbage.
They were awful.
Devastator and Jerry say they both do football. So they kind of get the football reference that we did earlier. Jerry says, I took music as an elective, but it didn't stick. Yeah.
Benigor says, my music teacher was clever. He ran off sheet music with the correct song title with different music. I was so busted. So much for my trumpet career.
That's pretty funny, Penagor. Linnell, I don't know if you guys can hear Linnell in the background or not with this microphone. But she was reading your... That's too funny. So the teacher would say, play this. We're going to learn this song. She'd go and try to get the cheater. What they call the... We used to do it on tests. They were called something. You had to read a book. And instead of reading the book... Oh, Cliff Notes. You could find Cliff Notes on stuff. You could read the Cliff Notes. And of course the teacher knew you should have read the Cliff Notes. So you do your essay based on the Cliff Notes, and the teacher would come in and say, So you're trying to do the workaround. So the teacher's like, we're going to learn this song, and then throws in a completely different set of sheet music. That's pretty funny. That's probably what was going on. Someone had figured out a way of cheating. So he figured, well, I'm going to fix this. So if anyone learns the song by ear, I'm going to change the sheet music and actually see who's playing and following. That's what's difficult. Like, I play keyboards a little bit. I wouldn't consider myself a piano player or a keyboard player by any stretch of the imagination. But when I go to church, they've asked me a couple times to maybe play at church, and for the life of me, I don't see. They've got it's like 800 and some pages in the theme book. Okay, well they just open that book up. For the life of me, I don't understand how the piano player at church does that. How do you just go, okay, we're going to play song on page 542, Mightier Than Now, whatever that song may be on 542. Piano player opens up the book and, okay, let's hit it. It's they might not play that song for 2 or 3 years. Think about it. They just open it up, they play it, and then later on, okay, we're going to play song on page 5, and that's, Over the Mountain or something. To me, that impresses the what out of me. It really does, to be able to just throw that sheet music open. And you've got 2 hands. So your eyes are looking at that sheet music, and you've got it down to the point where every note is on each finger. And you're reading 2 lines of music simultaneously, left, right hand, and you are playing that piano in time, in sequence, with the choir and the church. I find that to be so impressive. And I'm sure there's places that they do that with guitar, bass, saxophone. I'm sure it's other than, but most churches have a piano player. And those people are required that they come in there and they just open that hymn book up and they play whatever's thrown out by the congregation. Okay, that's the one we're going to play, so play it. I find that amazing. Jerry says, took music as an alternative, but it didn't stick. All right, I got that one. Penagor says, he wanted me. He was fantastic. Jazz pianist, though. I don't know where. I must have missed that one.
No, it's talking about the teacher that did the...
Oh, you're talking about the teacher. Yeah.
He said he warned Penagor, but...
He warned me. but he was a fantastic. Yeah, I I've been very fortunate, guys. I was able to play with some, how do you say it, extremely talented people. And if I could pick up, we didn't have YouTube. So this talented person would pick up, this guitar and you would watch them. And if you could remember one thing or one little trick that that person did, you know, because we would spend hours with tapes. What's he doing there? What's he doing there? What's he doing there? And you're trying to figure out what this artist did. What's he doing? And you're trying your best and you just can't figure it out. And then you go and you try it in a band, or you go to see your buddy's band, or you're opening it up for a band and that band's playing it and you're watching them and you see the trick and you're like, that's how that's done. You know, you can learn so much by watching others. And at the end of the night, if you could remember and retain just one thing each time, you hope you could add that to your arsenal. Okay, I know that trick now. I'm going to add that to the arsenal. And you try to figure out a way of adding it to your music. Even though it's just one little thing, you still don't know the song. But maybe it was something that you were struggling with, or you were playing the song completely wrong. You got a couple different set lists, so you go listen to another band, you're like, oh, there's that spot that we kind of fudged through it because we really couldn't figure out what they were doing. Or before the show, the big revelation, and you guys are going to laugh at me, one of my first bands, I don't even remember the name of the darn band, I can't remember the first band. We were playing really crappy places. 20, 30 people be there. And there was a local band that the guys came in to listen to us. And the guy goes, you know you're playing that song completely wrong. And I'm like, yeah, we struggled. He goes, well, it's tuned down a half step. And I'm like, huh? What do you mean tuned down a half step? And he was like, well, just tune down to the flat when you're E, just tune down a half step. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started listening to it, and it changed the way the chords rang out. It changed everything. And it blew my mind. A lot of the songs that I was struggling trying to learn on ear, it was a different tuning. It wasn't tuned 440. They might be doing a drop C or a D on the E string. There was 7 strings wasn't really a thing, when I was playing bars. Or they were doing a drop tune. They dropped down a half step or a whole step, and it gave the instrument a completely new sound. When you tune down a half step, you can play G. Okay. Yeah, it's a G note. But if I'm tuned to 440 and I play G, it sounds different. It's like, it's kind of right, but it's not right. And it's little things like that you learn. You're like, wow, I was so naive and stupid, And you're able to learn from these people, and you progressively get better. But like I said, I was very fortunate. I was able to play with some really, when I say talented people, it's very talented people. Yeah, very talented people. I can't stress that enough. I'll go back to the chat here. Jerry's, then I got married and had kids and left it all in the closet. That's not good. But the same thing happened to me. That's why I was saying earlier, I stopped really playing the guitar for probably 15 years. It was up on the wall or at my other house. I always had my rack set in the living room. And I remember people would come over, oh, you play guitar? I'm like, yeah, I used to. And I'd turn the amp on and hit a couple chords, and that might not be turned on for 4 or 5 months again. I'd come home and go, I'm going to play my guitar. I'd pick it up, play it for 5 minutes, and then set it over there. I remember, picking it up and the strings would just be dead. I'm like, well, I just put strings on this. And then I remember, I haven't picked the thing up in a year, so the strings died. Nicholas says, my local band was Grand Funk. I remember, weren't they Grand Funk Station? Am I thinking wrong? Wasn't there a band called Grand Funk Station? Is that the one you're talking about? I'm pretty sure it was Grand Funk Station. It may be a completely different band. I just remember something about Grand Funk Station. My big bands that were local to me that I was able to go out and see.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Grand Funk Railroad. That's what it was. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Grand Funk. I was saying Grand Funk Station. Grand Funk Railroad. Yeah. Yeah. Is that the same band, Nicholas? Because man, if you were able to see those cats live in a local small setting, that would be freaking awesome. You know, that would be like growing up next to Eddie Van Halen or something and going, hey, Eddie's my neighbor. I'll just go over and, he'll tell me how to play it. That would be like really cool.
You said yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, I hope you spend every spare minute watching those cats because it's not just the playing, like I said earlier. When you're professional like that, you're on a completely different level. And we're bad about saying, oh, this guitar player is better than this guitar player. When you get to that level of musicianship, you're good. You're good. And your ability to retain and remember songs, that's my issue, guys. That was probably 99.9% of my problem when I was younger playing out was retention. Being able to remember a song or a set list that you haven't played for 4 or 5 months. That's what separated the good guitar players from what I call the true professional players. They could go somewhere and they knew their set list wasn't working and they had to change up to satisfy the people. And that was always difficult.
Devastator said Jackal was his local band growing up.
Oh man, okay.
Jerry said Jackal and then he put Lumberjack.
Yeah, what was that? Jackal. Hold on. I'm gonna butcher some Jackal because I don't remember how to play it. Can you say that I suck?
Devastator says, LOL, that's the one everyone seems to know by now.
Well, I feel the sun shining. That was way too loud. Well, I feel the sun shining. Of course, I don't have my mic set up for that, and this is probably not a good microphone. I turned the effects on. Anything to help this squirrel voice will help. See, there's a change there. Now, guys, you guys are going to make me, after the live stream, I'm going to pull up that video, and I know I don't know if there's a key change in that, but I know there's a change. There's a bridge too. Now,
Taylor said we got to see them on the flatbed in front of Kmart because they refused to sell their albums.
oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. Lost it.
Jerry,
A lot of missed notes tonight, guys.
Jerry said, got to hang with Dave. I'm not sure how to say that. He's from Molly Hatchet.
Ooh, you know, Molly Hatchet's one of those bands, guys, that I loved Molly Hatchet. And that's a band that you really, well, in this area, that's something that even on the classic rock station, you don't hear Molly Hatchet on the radio. And that's a shame. Molly Hatchet, in my opinion, was an awesome band. The local artists, for me, Kicks, Steve Whiteman and those guys were local. Of course, what's his name? Plays Shally Acres all the time. Drummer from Godsmack now. Shannon Larkin. Back then, that was Wrathchild, and they had to change their name to Wrathchild America and sneak him into Shally Acres because he was underage. But he left Wrathchild America and then went to Ugly Kid Joe at the time. Then we had Dirty Deal.
Honey Tap's on.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Honey Tap. I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Jupe said you gotta pull out the sheet music, then you won't make a mistake.
Yeah, if I had the sheet music, I wouldn't be making all these mistakes. Here's me playing sheet music.
Tom Sawyer Alien says you sound like you're in a barrel.
If that's the vocal, I'm leaving this microphone on, and I'm away from the microphone.
Curtin Scale says a very close.
There we go. How about now? Ooh.
Curtin Scale says a very close friend of mine, Kenny Olson, ex-Kid Rock guitarist. We hang out often.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Where was it? There's a church in Winchester, Virginia. It was called. I went there twice and played twice, and the one time that I played there, the bass player from what was the band that did Freeze Frame? Dun 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 dun. They did Freeze Frame, and they had really one big album that went, but they actually had a lot of albums. The bass player of that band was there, And from what I understand, that he's pretty regular showing up there and playing bass for the church. Jay Giles Band, that's it. Jay Giles Band. He's pretty much a regular cat that shows up and just jams bass at the church on Sundays. So you think about how many bands, guys, that have been. These are all musicians and they love playing. Especially, like 10 years ago when open mics were big, you would see these guys show up and it's like, wow, this cat's really good. And it happened to me several times. I would go up to him and say, my gosh, dude, you're so good. What are you doing playing? And you find out 6 months later that he played in this band or he played in that band. It makes you feel like an idiot because the guy's probably going, well, this cat don't even know who the fuck I am. Excuse my French. I know it's supposed to be a family show, but I know I've done that 2 or 3 times. The Aristocrats, the dude with the funny hair that plays guitar. I saw him somewhere in a small venue. This was, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe longer. And I went up to him, I'm like, dude, you are a phenomenal guitar player. What are you doing here playing? And I never put 2 and 2 together until maybe 5 years after that. And found out that he was big. He just liked going to small venues and plugging his guitar in and jamming. I'm pretty sure it was the Aristocrats, the guitar player from the Aristocrats. The guy is stupid good.
Devastator said you should check out a newer band called De France. They're really good.
The who?
De France.
The Clamp?
France.
Oh, I thought Time Surfing Alien wanted me to check out the band called The Clap.
That was Devastator that said that.
Oh, that was Devastator that said that. I knew somebody likes The Clap.
Well, Tom Surfing Alien said The Clap.
I just figured it was a band. Yes, Daniel's got it. I can't even pronounce the name, but that's the cat that I saw. And I didn't know who he was. And I go up to him, I'm like, dude, you are a phenomenal freaking guitar player. What are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I just come out. He never even let on that he was a professional musician, had albums. He goes, I just like coming out and jamming, man. Just like coming out and jamming. And I'm sitting there going, dude, you are so freaking good. And I went to the bar, sat down, and, listened to this cat play. And I know it was a couple years later. I was like, oh, there's that dude. But humble and just sat in there just jamming away all night long. It was amazing.
Devastator said Jerry keeps touching me.
Wow, I don't know what's going on between Jerry and Devastator. Since we're breaking rules tonight, I'll just break a bunch of them.
Avery, what would you say off the top of your head just your rack unit is worth, minus guitars and amps?
Where's this at?
It's juke.
Jupe. Jupe's comment. Avery, what would you say off the top of your head your rack unit is worth? Just my guitar amplifier.
Not counting guitars and amps.
Yeah, if just my amp. We can go over that real quick. A lot of the stuff, guys, nowadays, the cost is much cheaper because I'm playing a lot of older stuff. I do have some new stuff. So let's just go at the top of the rack, the very top of my rack. I don't know if I can. Sometimes when I move this camera, guys, it freezes. So I'm going to go really, really, really slow. So I'm not going to, I know it's kind of crooked, but well, we're okay. If you look at the rack, there's like a blue light dead center at the top. The unit above that is a line 6. Actually, I think my gain's too high. I see I'm clipping. Hold on.
Honeytop said, please trigger the applause. I think we could all use some.
There you go. If the buttons are working. I think it's working. Was that working?
I don't know. I don't have the volume on.
She doesn't have the volume up. Hold on, I'm going to be quiet. Yeah, it's working. There you go, Honeytop. Well, back to the rack. The very top unit, which I know they're all black, the very top unit is not on. That's my line 6 G90. And let me grab this part of it real quick. So the very top unit goes with this. This is my strap. This is the strap I use when I play out. So here's my wireless. And you can see that this is the line 6 relay. And it's got the little cord that just plugs in. It's clipped on the back of my strap. And you can see I've got my strap locks. So whenever I set a guitar up, first thing I do is I put strap locks on it. That way I know I can hook my wireless right into it and I'm ready to go. So the line 6 relay, when I bought it, that's a rack mount unit. I still think it's the best one on the market you can possibly buy. It has what's called your guitar, the length of your cable, okay? The length of your cable changes the way your guitar sounds. Just like your microphone, the placement of your microphone that changes your sound more than anything, guys. When you're playing out live, where you put your microphone. That's why these new modeling amps have gotten so popular, because it's IR direct. You know, you've got an IR, you've got a cab sim, an amp sim. It never changes. So you don't have to worry about being shoved in a corner or a bar where the sound's bouncing off the walls. You know the sound going to the board is right. Anyway, the top is my wireless. The very next unit underneath that, you can see where the guitar is plugged into. That's the one with the blue light. That is my brand new piece of equipment. That is my Synergy SYN2. Okay, it has 2 modules. The module all the way this direction is a Friedman BE DLX. It's a BE Deluxe. And the unit on this side is a Sedano Slow. Okay, I want to say each unit is $350 to $400 for the Friedman or the Sedano, depending on, I think $299 is about the cheapest you'll find each unit. And then the rack unit itself is $700. So, yeah, $1,000. So about $1,500 just in the second unit. When I bought the line 6 relay, it was $900. I think now you can get them for like $5. The unit below that, the one with the pink and purple on black that says ART with the red dots. That's my Applied Research Technology SGX 2000 Express. That unit has been modified and it runs two 12AX7s, okay? Now, that's it. That unit runs directly into the very bottom unit that says Pro Valve. That's a BK Butler 6L6 power amp. The two units above that, the silver one, directly below the ART, and the black and red one. The silver one is an AMR inline tube sweetener. That's going through the effects loop of the ART, okay? And then the unit below that is a BBE sonic maximizer. So you can get an ART SGX 2000 Express on reverb with an X15 foot controller in mint condition. I see them mint condition from $600 to $700. The silver piece that's dead center, that one's going to be hard to find, guys. That was made by Applied or Audio Media Research, which was bought by Peavey. If you can find one, expect to pay $500 to $600 for it in bad condition. It will need rebuilding or new tubes and new caps. They're extremely hard to find. But it adds so much warmth to the signal. Below that, the BBE rack mount, that's a 362. You can find those all day long on reverb for $75 to $100. The Pro Valve Butler 6L6 power amp, those are hard to find. What you will find most of the time on the BK Butlers is what's called a MOS valve, and that's their solid state power amp. I think the solid state ones are okay. This one is their Tube 6L6. I've only seen one come up for sale in the last year, and I think it's still on reverb. I think they want $1,000 for it.
You sound like a stage announcer or something.
I sound like a phase, a what?
To me, I don't know. You sound like you're talking.
Oh, I got my effects on. Sorry, guys. Now, there we go. I had turned the effects on when we were playing. I was singing that stupid song. You guys missed my singing voice if you just came in. Sorry, guys. Now I probably sound normal again. The Pro Valve, so let's just say best price, $900 for the Pro Valve power amp, $100 for the BBE, so that's $1,100. Figure at least $500 for the AMR, so you're at $1,600. A mint condition ART Express, we're just going to say $600, so you're at like $23. And then another $1,400 for the Synergy rack. And then another $500 or $600 for the wireless. And now you still don't have a speaker cabinet. So I have one cabinet which you can't see. It's directly below the Egnator. That's a Peavey Butcher cabinet loaded with 4 Greenback Celestians. And then on this side, we're going to move the camera around and we're going to show this is my blown up Black Star. It's dead. And this one right here is my Pride and Joy. This is my Peavey Penta, and it has 4 Celestion Penta drivers on it. Stupid good cabinet. It is an open back cabinet. If you can find a Peavey Penta cabinet in good shape, trust me, buy it. You'll love it. It just sounds. It's a good driver, especially if you're playing 80s hair rock or even the 70s rock and roll. It's like a greenback. It's a cross between a greenback and a creamback. It's kind of in between there, but it's very forgiving. It likes clean tones. It's a very forgiving driver, very, very, very forgiving driver. So that's my amp rig. Let me spin around here. Actually, the camera did pretty good for flopping around like that.
I'm Surf Nailing says, yep, Avery has a nice rack.
Yeah, as I get older, it gets better. Take your time, guys. I didn't build that rack in a year or two. Um, I've had the BK Butler amp for probably 20 some, 25 years at least. I've had the ART SGX since 91. Um, I bought that and I played it through a Hafler DH500 power amplifier, which was basically a PA amp because I had the Pro version. I played it through that for years until I got the Butler. There's just build your system along. Um, a good amplifier is a good amplifier. A good amplifier never goes out. People go, oh, that's an old sound. If it's a good amplifier, it's a good amplifier. You can get it to sound like anything you want it to sound like. I think I proved that with my 1991. I did some death metal tones on that one review. I don't remember which guitar it was. Anyway, I tried some real heavy distortions. I was getting that through the ART. Is it a perfect modern tone? No. But it did well. And that's just me trying first pass. I'm sure I could dial it in a little better. Your amp makes all the difference in the world. I'm 100% on board. Buy a cheaper instrument, put your money in your amplifier, your effects, stuff like that. It makes all the difference in the world. Trust me, my amp will sound so much better if I went to a more modern effects unit. My ART is a 16-bit. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I think I got a good sound out of it. But as far as bringing my sound to the next clean level, as far as signal path clean and just being more ambient, these new, like the fractal audio, you just can't compare the two. They're not even in the same country. We're not even going to say zip code. It's on the opposite side of the world as far as the tonal quality of the fractal versus my ART.
Curtin Scale said he would get rid of the ART and replace it with a TC Electronic G Major 2.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably, now that I have the Synergy unit, I probably could. The drawback to doing that is there's some things that the ART allow me to do. I'm running stereo. So on the front of the ART, I actually have a balance knob. So as I turn the balance knob to the left, what it does is it doesn't change the output. Even though you're decreasing the output to the one channel, the overall output it compensates for. And it does actually a pretty good job. I would lose that. It also has a dial called amp voicing. And I really don't know what the amp voicing, what it's doing inside. But I know that when I turn it left, I get more of a bottom end tone. And the more you turn it to the right, the more presence or high end it gets. And I shouldn't say presence because I'll just say it's almost like a tone knob. That would probably be the best way of describing it. Plus you have a wet-dry mix that's already up front. And then you have an effects loop mix, okay? So you have a wet-dry mix that's internal to the SGX. Then I have a mix on how much signal goes back into my raw signal on my effects loop. It's very intuitive. So if I was to remove that, I have a Digitech Studio here, 200. I have a Quadraverb. I have a bunch of different effects that are pretty good effects units. I could drop the ART and just come out of the effects loop of the Synergy and use my AMR, my BBE, and maybe a Digitech. But we're still talking older equipment. I think the cheaper way for me to go is the VP4 by Fractal. I think it's like $700. The only reason I don't want one, it's a pedal format. I mean, I get why it's made that way. I'm still a rack mount guy. I would prefer a rack with a foot controller. No sense in Fractal going that when they can pack everything in the foot controller and just MIDI it to your unit. I think if I got that, I could get by. But if I'm going to spend 700, I think I'm just going to save the money and get an FX3, and then that'll give me all my amp modeling. Plus, I'll still have my Synergy, my Friedman, my Sedano, and have a stereo effects send, and I can do cab hours, amp hours, and go direct to uh, this over here. Now, I could plug my guitar directly into my HX Stomp and run that directly into the, and that would eliminate the mics. It would eliminate so many things. I'm trying to keep my tube signal, with a microphone in front. There's so many other channels that do direct hour to interfaces to YouTube. I'm really trying to get my sound to where it sounds better using an open mic and a tube cabinet, if that makes sense.
Honeytap says he just bought a Positive Grid Spark Live 150.
The Positive Grid Spark. I don't know which one that one is, Honeytap. I know that there's nothing at all wrong with the Spark stuff. In reality, guys, most of the stuff nowadays, school bus, short bus, just bought a new X with the guitar I bought him. He paid like $170 for that amplifier.
The guitar he bought from you, not you bought him.
Yeah, well, yeah, that he bought from me. He bought a guitar from me. And then he went to the local music store, Shenandoah Music, and bought this little new X amp. It was like $180 with tax. It's a little new X amp. And it's Bluetooth. So all the effects are right on his phone. He can turn up the reverb, turn down the reverb, turn up the delay time. It is really quick on how it works. For $180, and I think it's 20 or 30 watts. It's actually quite nice. I think all these small amps, whether it's a Katana, whether it's a Catalyst, whether it's the New X, the Fender Mustang, I think they're all great amps for what they are. I would say 80% of people wouldn't know the difference. There are probably the other 15% of the people that could tell the difference between that and, let's say, a higher end modeling amp. Okay? There are probably. And then when you go to the bar, I'll doubt most of those people would know the difference between my rack unit and going direct to house out of the hour on any, whether it's a Katana, the Catalyst, an HX Stomp. Just plug your guitar into the pedal and go front of the house. Most of those people wouldn't know the difference. I hate to say it. My rig, for me, is just, when I look at it, I remember playing here, I remember playing there. There's so many memories and different people that I was able to play with. And so many conversations. Well, why are you using this? Why, that thing's a piece of junk, and then you play it, especially my PV guitar. Why in the world are you playing a PV? And I'm like, well, I like my PV, and I'd hand it to them, and they're like, wow, this is a great instrument. Just so many conversations like that, whether it was my rig or the guitar. It's a part of me. Even if I get a new fractal, I would love to disassemble my rig a little bit and keep my BK Butler and maybe my basic rig that I have here and have it just as a backup or be able to plug into it occasionally. I've had it for so long, it's just, and a lot of it too, guys, I've had it for so long, I can go up to that ART and everyone said they were hard to program. Give me 5 minutes. Even with a little tiny computer screen, I can program a completely new sound in 5 minutes from start to finish, a blank preset. Could I do that with a fractal? No. Could I in a year or two of playing with it? I'm sure I could. I'm sure it's much more intuitive than the art. I've just gotten used to it. I know what does what and how much of what I need to get what I like, if that makes sense. When I switch to an FX3, there's going to be a huge learning curve. I won't know what this parameter or that parameter or what this does or what this can't do, if that makes sense.
You want to talk about your stuff giving you memories. You had like a little blonde-haired person sitting outside listening
Yeah, back in the day, I won't mention any names on who used to do it. We needed a place to practice, and I knew a guy that owned a hair salon. Well, the hair salon closed at, I don't know, 7 o'clock or something. So he would let the band come in the hair salon, and we would set up our amps and the drums and stuff, and that's where we practiced. And it was funny. It was right at what was called the turnaround point for the loop. Everyone used to cruise back then. You get in your car and you'd cruise town. Well, this hair salon was right at the spot where everyone turned around, and a lot of people would just stop and get a free concert. And there was a certain somebody that used to hang out outside and listen to the band. But I'm not going to say any names on who that was. And that was years ago. Holy mackerel, that had to be 30 plus years ago. I have not tuned this guitar since the review, and I just picked it up, and this guitar is considerably heavier than my Kramer. This guitar's got some heft to it. If you haven't seen the review on this, we did our first live review, so go check out the review. It's a pretty cool little instrument. I'm thinking about doing some modifying to it, and then doing some other content with this one. And you can, and this has the awful Firefly strings on it that turn your fingers black.
Curtain Scale said Axifex 3 has a computer interface that makes it super easy to use.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I think the VP4, the new thing that they just come out with, I don't think there's a preamp stage in that. It's just effects. Technically speaking, I would have to look at it. If it has a send and return and it's stereo, my issue is I really need to look at the output stage of the SYN2. If it has a left-right out, and I can go stereo out, even though it's mono in, when you go out of your effects loop into a unit like that, it's going to break it into stereo. So if I can come back into the unit and go out on an output stage, stereo, to my BK Butler, I think the VP, or I think it's a VP4. I guess I could try to pull that up real quick. Let me see what that is.
Jerry says, is that mahogany or ash body?
You know, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be swamp ash on that Firefly. It's
Honey Top said ash.
yeah, it's going to be ash. And I'm typing in the forums here, see if I can find. There it is. So let me go to my display capture here. And there's my squirrel. So if we go to products, here's their new product. It's a VP4. I actually think maybe I should just get this, especially if my Synergy has a stereo out. Even though, like I said, it's mono in, but once you come out on your effects loop to something like this, it's going to add stereo effects. If my Synergy has stereo out based on the effects loop, I should probably just get this. This is technically all I would need. I would not get the amp modeling. Okay, this is just for effects. But it would technically take my rig to the next level. See, we have input, stereo out, and you have two pedals that you can hook into it. USB, MIDI in and out. I'm not familiar with that type of MIDI. I would have to look into that. I'm used to a DIN cable on the MIDI. And then your power source and your power button. I think I can get away with that. Is it near the unit as like an FX3? No, it isn't. I know it's not. This is the unit right here. if I get this with the synergy, um, I would be dead and pushing up roses long before I would ever need anything else. Especially considering my ART is 30 years old. I'm not going to be here in 30 years, so it won't matter. Um, but this unit here is just the bee's knees. There's a reason why so many professional artists play this unit. Um, if you're going to spend the money, um, spend the money. Uh, I think you can either go budget or spend the money. I have found going the mid road, you always think, well, if I spend a little bit more, I could have got this. If you go the budget mode, you always go, well, I went the budget mode. I only paid X for this, and it does what I needed to do. It's that mid-price stuff. Is usually when I buy mid-price stuff, I got a 50-50 shot of being either happy or being disappointed that I just didn't go ahead and spend the extra money and get the better unit.
Jupe says you want the Axe 3. You know it. Go for it.
Yeah, I do want the Axe 3. It just comes down to finances. Um, just like everybody else, man, we're all on a budget, and we have to watch our budget. Oh, my coffee got cold. That's awful. Oh, that's awful. So now I gotta get my live chat back up. There it is. And someone was talking about an orange Hot Wheels track. I had Hot Wheels when I was younger. I used to set it up through the house and go tables and stuff. We had this little, it was a blue thing. You'd put the car in it and you'd cock it back like a trigger and it had a spring and it would launch the car out. Well, my brother and I took it apart and we stretched the spring to make it stronger. So a lot of times you'd put the car in, you hit that, and it was so strong it just shot the car off the track and it would hit the wall. Ha! It was pretty funny.
Jupe says he wants to hear the story about the loop.
The whoop?
The loop.
The whoop.
When you played in the hair salon.
Oh. Well, like I said, I knew a guy that had a hair salon. So the band needed a place to practice. And he liked music. And I knew him for years. And he gave me a key to the building. And he goes, look, on Friday, I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday nights. I don't remember what it was. We would unlock the hair salon and set up in the hair salon. And that's where the band practiced. I think we did it for maybe 6 months until the band actually started playing out more. And then we ended up getting a deal with it was an awful bar. It was called the Silver Dollar. So when we didn't have a place to play to make money, the Silver Dollar allowed us to play there on Friday nights. And we practiced. But for them to get us in there for free, all we asked for was, I think it was like a $350 bar tab for the band, and we would just practice there. And there would always be, I don't know, maybe 50 to 80 people, and we always qualified. Look, we're not here to, do this or that. We're here, to practice. We are a practicing band. We play in these locations. This bar has allowed us to come in and practice. So we would always practice there. And I think that taught me more than actually playing at the hair salon, because a lot of times you spend a lot of time working on songs that when you go out and play, you get no reaction. So we would instantly, since you were practicing already in the bar, you would get a feel for what people wanted to hear. Oh, you'd say, yeah, that's a good song to learn that song. It didn't always work, but I think practicing in that scenario worked. Could you pull that off today? Probably not. I don't know of any bar that's going to let a band come in and actually practice. Yeah. Yep, Jupe's ready for the moderator to ban him.
Yeah, because he said sell Linnell's guitar. That'll help fund the Acts 3.
Ha! I can't do that. I told you all the story on that. We walked in there and she just said, "I want that guitar." I mean, I was caught so far off guard on that because I was handing the guitar back to the girl and Linnell was like, "Nope, I want that guitar," and I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, I want that guitar." So, what do you say? She doesn't ask for much, guys, and she actually picked a really cool guitar. It's got a cool color. Um, it's a cool freaking guitar. I'm actually kind of jealous. It needs a setup. I did a quick setup on it. I'm going to leave it that way for probably 2 or 3 weeks. Let it acclimate to the house. Let it adjust to the new setting. And I'm going to get 2 sets of strings for it. I'll put new set of strings on it. I'll set the intonation, do another setup on it, and then I'll take those strings off and put the new on it. Because once you intonate and you're moving the saddles back and forth, most of the time you've destroyed those strings. So I'll get it all set up for her. And I got an email, guys. What was the name of that company, honey? For free guitar lessons?
Guitar? Something?
Yeah, I'm always open and honest with you guys. So it's funny when I get emails from manufacturers and stuff like this. So this is a guitar learning thing.
Guitar Tricks.
Yeah, it's guitartricks.com. Not saying for anyone to go there yet or anything else. Linnell has subscribed to it. And for what we see, there's only 2 things that you get for free for your first 30-day free. So we're going to let Linnell go through the first 2 things. And if it seems like it's decent, we may end up doing something. It's guitar lessons. We just kind of looked into it. I don't even know what a subscription costs yet. But I got an email from them and got an email from some other company I haven't read yet. But odds are, we usually don't do anything as far as sponsorships when companies sending stuff to the channel. I've just not found a company that will be what I consider worth sponsoring or plugging, if that makes sense. Gunther has reached out to me so many times. It's so funny. You would think at this point they would get the hint that I don't really want to do anything with them. But they keep sending me emails. Hey, we want to send you some tuners. We want to send you a bridge. We want to send you. I'm like, nah, really don't have an interest in it, guys. And I'm missing the chat. Oh, wow. I got a bunch of them that I'm missing.
Yeah, they're kind of busy picking on me.
Oh, it's pick on Linnell night. Well, there was a certain person that would hang out in front of the salon and listen to the band play. How old were you then?
Oh my God, probably 14, 15.
I think she was 14 or 15 at the time when she was hanging out there. That was pretty funny. It's funny how life comes back around and those people come back into your life and it's so funny. Because I didn't speak to Linnell for years. I worked down literally just a couple doors down from the salon, and knew Linnell because she would hang out front. It's funny how you see people and you're like, well, okay, and then they disappear out of your life, and then 10 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it may be, they come back into your life and it becomes part of your life. It's just so funny how life works like that. You make my heart sing. Yeah. Honey Tap. Time to play Wild Thing. I don't even know if I know Wild Thing. Everyone knows Wild Thing. I'm sure I can figure it out. I want to do if I'm playing Wild Thing, I'm playing the good version. There's only one version of Wild Thing. I am playing the Sam Kinison version of Wild Thing. And in my little squirrel brain, That's the best version of that song. Yeah, there we go. Well, what's it go? Every time I kiss you, I taste what other men had for lunch. I love that's the best line of any song. I want to know for sure. Now, you guys have got to remember the Sam Kinison version. People do that when they go down to have stuff. People roll it. I think in reality, I think the bass player is the one going down the step. I don't really think the guitar is actually doing that. I could be wrong.
What year is it?
Oh, this Kramer? This is a re-release. This is not an original 80s Nights one. This is a 2024, I think. I think it's a 2024 Kramer Nights one. It would help if I turned the mic on. This is a 2024 Kramer Nights one. This is a re-release, so this is not a true like 88 or 89 Nights one. So this is the re-release. It's a great guitar, man. Great guitar. That's all I can say. It's a great guitar. Yeah, Linnell needs to jump in the stream. You're right. I love the way that, like I said, I'm really trying to get the amp to come through on YouTube the way I hear it. I love the tone of this rack mount amplifier. It just has a sound, and it's so hard for me to get that sound to come across on YouTube. I think I'm out of tune. The puppy dog's having field day. What is it, Wolf Do? Now I got the one in the basement and the one upstairs carried on. Linnell says she's going to stay behind the scenes. Just so you guys know, that's what my amp's doing. I don't know if it's coming through on YouTube, but I just lost a couple decibels. I'm really getting confused on the buttons tonight, so you guys are hearing probably 50,000 different kinds of tone. That time the overhead was on and the mic cabinet was on.
Jerry said turn that shit down. Don't you know what time it is?
I don't know what day. It's 10:30. Believe it or not, my my little decibel meter isn't working. Believe it or not, normally the amplifier in the room when I'm doing the live streams is much louder than it is tonight. The amp isn't very loud at all in the room, and I do feel the difference when I play the guitar. It doesn't feel as alive as when I turn it up. It's a tube amp, so this particular amp really seems to come alive. This is a small room. It's about 16 by 18, the total room. So in this room, when I hit about 98 decibels, 100 decibels, the amp really starts to come alive. Now in a larger room, it wouldn't be as loud, but in this room, I found about 98 to 100, 102 decibels, it starts coming to life. Right now, I'm gonna guess. Let me plug the meter in here. Let me turn the camera here. You can see I got a little decibel meter above the amp. Let me plug that in. And we can see that's our room noise. And some of that is just the hum in the amplifier. And you can hear me. Check, check, check. You can see the meter going up. That's just me hollering in the room. Now I'm gonna turn on the guitar. And we'll actually see that it's actually not that loud in the room.
Mic it.
What's this?
Honey Tap said you are bold to try to mic it.
Yeah, it is mic'd. Now this is the overhead mic.
Honey Tap said, holy mackerel, that's loud.
Yeah, that's the overhead mic. So what basically, if I try to blend the two, you can hear it. That was just the overhead. Now I'm going to do just the cabinet mic.
Honey Tap said he's a low volume, such a low volume guy.
Yeah, now what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to bring the level down on this mic. I'm still going to use the mic on the cabinet as the primary, but I want to get a little bit of room ambience right here. So I'm going to lower this down. I'm going to use the VU meters and try to get a comfortable medium. Now you can hear when I talk, it has cut my volume on my speech back. So I'm going to cut it back just a little bit more. I'm just trying to get some room ambience from the cabinet. Got it right there. Did you hear it? That's what my amplifier is doing. And I don't know what's causing it. Right there, that's the first time I've been able to capture it. You can hear it popping back and forth.
Curtis Field said a SM57 Beta is a good mic for live, but for what you're doing on here, it's not a good choice. You need a condenser or a ribbon mic for YouTube.
Yeah, guys, I just bought this microphone. Just bought this one. Um, I was using the SM57 for just talking. You're right. The Beta 57 is great for live because it cuts all the background noise. It's a non. It doesn't feed back a lot. And you're right. I should get a better microphone. Um, Baby steps, guys. That's another reason why I was thinking about either the fractal or just using what I've got. I've got a Line 6 HM HX stomp. I don't even know what my settings are on it. I don't even know if it's plugged in. It says it's plugged in. Channel 2. No, that's channel 3, 4, I think. I would have to play with it. Maybe tomorrow night we'll do an experiment. We'll do the open mic on the cabinet, and we'll see what an open mic in the cabinet sounds like with the 57 Beta. And then we'll just do direct to IR right into the interface to YouTube. It might be easier and sound better just to do that. There's a reason why so many people do that. Um, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We can just do what everyone else does. You know, there's like I said, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Honeytech said I know nothing about how to mic an amp. Everything I do is line out.
Yeah, I'm not the world's best at it. Tonight, the microphone is about an inch away from the felt on the cabinet, and the mic is pointing about a half inch, maybe an inch from the side of the driver going down the cone. So it is, the closer you go towards the center, the higher pitch you get, and you get more lower pitch when you come out on the cone. So that's about where I am on the cone. And you can hear, it's a pretty good reference because when I turn on this microphone, you're not hearing a more treble or more high. It's pretty balanced. So I tried to get a decent balanced location on the SM57. I think it works pretty good. All right, guys. Like I say, tonight, Friday nights are our test night. If you guys want to do up a list on some things that you guys want to cover for tomorrow night, that would be really cool. You know, maybe there's a topic. I want to wait. I want to go to my local music store tomorrow morning. They had said something to me about bringing a guitar home. So I want to see what happens. I'm going there anyway because that's kind of like the hangout on Saturdays. So go there, do some chilling out. So we might have something from there to talk about. If not, it'll be open forum for tomorrow night, guys. So come up with something, and go to the. It's not. I always call it the community page, but go to the post page. Is that what it is, hon?
Yeah.
Post page on the site, and I'll start a new post, and we can come up with some things that we all want to go over tomorrow night.
Or we can just comment on this stream.
Yeah, or leave a comment on this stream. That would probably be better for tomorrow night's stream. Go down to the comment section below and say, hey, why don't we talk about this, or I'm thinking about this, or thinking about that. I could do some research on it. And then if you do that, other people that are in the chat, they can do some research on it too. Yeah, I love my rack. I love my rack unit, guys. Vicky's saying nice rack. I never left the rack stuff. Everyone's talking, rack equipment's coming back. Well, I never left. I've been a rack guy since 1990. Probably before that. and just never turned back. My first rack mount processor was a GSP5 Digitech, and I went from going with floor pedals to that, and I never went back to floor pedals. The GSP5 was so much better. It only had like a 3-bar LED screen. It was really, really, really difficult to know what you were doing. Everything was abbreviated. It didn't really have a screen, if that made sense. Um, but ever since the GSP5, I haven't thought about going back to pedals. I think pedals have a place. It's just for me, I like rack equipment. All right, guys, we are going to end the stream here. We've been on for 2 hours. So, like I said, go into the comments section down below. Leave some comments on what you guys want to go over tomorrow night. And, of course, hit the like button. That helps YouTube. And let me know, guys. I know we did that first live review. And I thought about doing another review tonight. I'm like, should I do another live review? I think what we might do, instead of doing Friday and Saturday, I'm thinking now that we should probably move the Friday night stream to maybe Thursday, or a Tuesday night, and then have that as our, let's go over new equipment, let's go over guitars, and that'll be that stream, and then we'll have our Friday night hangout and chat about whatever. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you guys think. I think doing Friday and Saturday is a little tough. And if I'm going to do another video, we should push it somewhere in the middle of the week and do reviews on guitars or equipment reviews or pedals or whatever, and just do it live right on the channel.
Jerry said he'll catch everybody next week. He's got big plans tomorrow, or his demise if he doesn't cooperate. Have a great night/weekend.
All right, Jerry. Well, if we know we don't hear from Jerry ever again, we know that someone kidnapped him and he's buried out in the middle of the desert of Arizona. or someone gave him some concrete shoes. And he lives next to water, so that's a possibility too. He's good with Thursday and Fridays. So I'm thinking about Thursday nights, probably. We're just playing it by ear, guys. So we'll move on for each week. But for tomorrow night, go down here, post some ideas, and I got some things tooling, so I'm sure that we'll have plenty to go over. Jimmy Hoffa, that's it. Ha! All right, guys. Thanks again. Like I say, you guys coming into the chat and having all the conversations. This chat, I really didn't keep track of anything over in the chat section. So Lord only knows what you guys were going over. And like I said, Pentagore, everybody, come back tomorrow night. That's our true stream. All right, guys. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming and hanging out and making Friday nights great. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you all tomorrow night. Bye.